welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm so happy to see you here in the year 2022 or whenever you're watching this video. My name is Ksenia and I make videos for people who, like myself, are applying for family-based immigration. I have a lot of videos talking about my personal experience and a lot of very useful immigration content for you to have the confidence to submit these applications and go through the process by yourself. So just to make a disclaimer that I'm not an immigration attorney, so the information in my videos is based on publicly available information as well as the experience of my own and my subscribers. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about the I-693 form, the medical form, and the difference between when you receive a medical request for evidence versus a medical deficiency notice. And I do have a video on my channel talking about the form I-693, the medical exam that is required for immigration and everything you need to know about it. So definitely go check out that video and I will link it in the top right corner right now. So every applicant who is applying for adjustment of status, also known as application for a green card, does have to go through the medical exam process and submit the medical exam form known as I-693. In some cases, people choose to submit this form together with your initial adjustment of status application, so they will include it in their packet and send it off all together. And some people choose not to do it right away, and you don't necessarily have to include your medical exam right away. People who are working in the field professionally, so immigration lawyers, are kind of split down the middle whether or not you should be submitting your medical exam right away when you apply or wait until the interview to bring it in. So I quickly wanted to talk about the validity period of the I-693, as I suspect there will be a lot of questions about it in the comments. According to the USCIS policy manual, and I will also link it under this video, the general rule is that if the civil surgeon signed your I-693 no more than 60 days before you file your I-485 application, once you send in your I-693 with your adjustment of status application, it will remain valid for 2 years. If you get your medical exam done anytime after you have submitted your I-485, it remains valid for 2 years, regardless whether you send it in or not. And if the civil surgeon signed it more than 60 days before you filed your I-485 application, then the medical exam will not be valid. So to put it in simpler terms, if you do your medical exam before you submit your I-485, and you must file your I-693 and I-485 within that 60-day period. However, if you already sent in your I-485 application, you can technically get your medical exam done anytime, as it will remain valid for 2 years, even if it sits in your house. Just make sure to keep it in a sealed, unopened envelope. However, some people choose not to risk it and they wait until they get their interview appointment notice and then go and get their medical exam done. However, if you are located in a state where you may have an issue scheduling an appointment rather quickly, then it's probably better to get your medical exam done whenever you possibly can after filing your I-485 application. However, a lot of people who do not submit their medical in the beginning with their application, they will receive something as the I-693 deficiency notice. And I received one myself when I was applying for immigration. So basically, you will receive a letter in the mail from USCIS, and in it, you will find a letter that looks something like this. It will typically be on a colored piece of paper that's called the I-693 deficiency notice. And what this notice basically means is that when USCIS began reviewing your green card application, they found that one of the forms, such as I-693, was missing from your file. You should read this deficiency notice very carefully because it will tell you that if you receive your interview notice in the mail, you must bring your evidence, your I-693, to your interview appointment. The other thing that is stated on the deficiency notice is that if your case does not require an interview, you will receive something known as request for evidence, to which you will have to respond, usually by mail. Pay attention to the very bottom of this deficiency notice that says, do not mail any documents at this time. Mailing documents before receiving one of the notices referred to above, so either the interview notice or the request for evidence, will result in delay of your case and also may result in your I-693 being lost. Long story short, if you receive an I-693 deficiency notice, all it means is that the medical was missing from your file and to bring it with you to your green card interview. At this point, if you receive the deficiency notice, you should not be mailing your medical exam to USCIS. If you do that, it will get lost. And unfortunately, some of my subscribers have done that. They found this letter in the mail, they panicked, and they sent off their medical exam to USCIS, one of the lockbox facilities. And what's going to happen is when they see this medical exam that is not attached to any kind of application, they're simply going to get rid of it. Another thing that I would say about the deficiency notice, that usually receiving a deficiency notice like this can be a good sign. This basically means that they are processing your adjustment of status application. So this could be a good indication that somebody is already looking at your green card application, and this typically would not happen if your I-130 was denied right away. So this is a really good sign. So now let's talk about the I-693 request for evidence. Now that is something that you should take a lot more seriously, and that is something that will actually require your action. So a request for evidence means that the person reviewing your file cannot move forward with your application unless they receive the necessary documentation. That means you should be responding to it and you should be following the instructions in that request for evidence to provide them with the necessary information. So this means that if you have received the I-693 request for evidence, you should go immediately, complete your medical exam, and send it in to the address which they have indicated in the request for evidence. You will typically receive a very strict amount of time by which you must respond to this request for evidence. So typically you will get anywhere between 2 to 4 months. Like I said, you should be following the instructions in that request for evidence that will exactly outline where you can submit this information. So there are 2 reasons you may be getting your request for evidence for this medical form. And the first one is if you receive your request for evidence prior to the interview being scheduled. That is probably a good sign that your interview may be waived. So that means that your interview may not be necessary for the type of visa that you have applied. In some cases, people who are applying for work-based visas, such as H visas, for example, they may get their interview waived. In some cases, such as family petitions, for example, parent petitions, if USCIS determines that the interview is not needed, they will issue a request for evidence for the medical exam to be able to move forward with approving or denying, but let's say approving the green card application. So if you, however, receive your I-693 request for evidence after your green card interview, that is probably something that you have already expected anyway, because when you show up to your green card interview, and if you still don't have your medical exam with you, they may issue you a request for evidence for you to be able to receive your green card after the interview. You will need to send them this medical exam. Something that I want to say that is very important is that if you haven't been able to schedule a medical exam before your green card interview, and if you haven't had the time to complete it, or maybe the civil surgeon is taking an extra long time to complete your medical and you haven't had the chance to do it, do not cancel and do not reschedule your green card interview. So the reason why is that if you cancel or if you try to reschedule your green card interview, there is a very high chance that you're going to have to wait many more months, and in some people's cases even years, before you're able to receive a new interview date. So please, even if you don't have your medical exam with you, you still should go to the interview and just tell them that you haven't been able to get your I-693 done. For that, obviously, you should be bringing some kind of evidence to your green card interview, such as an appointment that you have scheduled with the civil surgeon showing that there were no available dates anytime sooner before your interview. Or you may even want to ask for some kind of letter to immigration addressed by the civil surgeon stating that you in fact will have an appointment in the future. However, right now you haven't been able to do that. So please bring that kind of evidence to your interview as well. However, do not make the mistake of canceling or rescheduling your interview. If you go to the interview and the USCIS officer issues you a request for evidence for the medical, that is going to be a lot simpler and faster. Soon enough, you may be able to receive your green card in the mail. So I hope that you found this video useful. Please make sure that when you receive a letter from USCIS about this medical exam, that you do read it carefully and figure out whether or not it is a deficiency notice or a request for evidence. Again, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Like this video so more people can see it. And I hope to see you in my next videos. Bye!